guys, this is the Frankie and Michelle show.
The show that came about when Frankie wanted to cancel on me because she thought I was a rich bitch.
Well, anyway, that's a story for another day. But if you wanted to check us out at Frankie and Michelle on Insta.
Today's show, we'll be talking about raising them babies to be decent humans and how it's harder than finding toilet paper during COVID.
Oh, yes, it actually is, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think for me, like I've got 3 boys.
Yes.
I've got 17, 14 and 10. I always forget about my third child.
Oh,
That
my
is so
God.
bad. I've actually left him once before. But anyway, that's like a whole nother story.
You know, your first child, you got thousands of photos of them, and the second kid, you got like no photos, and the first kid's always clean, and the next one's always dirty. It's like
what?
oh.
But, you know, raising boys, I always get, gee, you're lucky for having boys.
Why do you think you get that?
I think because they just think
It's easier?
it's easier, but it's actually harder
Yeah.
because you're trying to raise decent, respectable men.
Absolutely.
So you're trying to teach them to respect women. You're
Yeah.
trying to teach them to be well-mannered. You're trying to teach them to have compassion and respect and all of that. So I think in the sense it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's how you parent that matters.
I think too, people have that perception that boys don't go to you for things, like they're sort of a little more independent. But if you raise them to, you raise them in an environment where it's okay to ask questions, say what's happened, and
Yeah. And my boys come to me with anything. They're not shy to talk to me about absolutely anything. They'll let me listen to anything. They'll show me pictures.
Yeah.
The most important, this is what I say to my friends, is you got to keep the conversation going,
Absolutely.
especially as they're getting older. I know I mentioned before that, you know, things change.
Yeah.
Like I'm not parenting as a mum anymore. Like I don't have to wash them. I don't have to do any of that stuff, but I have to be part of that emotional part of having kids.
Absolutely. Hold that aside.
Yeah, I think it's
And I think too, you mentioned, you and I both had a conversation and we both agree that if your children come to you and they've done something wrong, they're going to get in less trouble than if you find out.
Oh, if they lie.
Oh,
Don't fucking lie. I used to tell my kids that I was magic.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because they used to, how did you know this? And I'm like,
'Cause
I'm
mums do
magic,
know.
right? Whereas now they're like, my middle child said to me, Mum, I know you're not magic, but how the fuck do you know everything?
It's called being a mum.
And I'm like, nothing gets past me. You know,
so come to me. If you've done something wrong, we can fix it. But if you lie to me and you try and hide it, sometimes you just can't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I will help you fix it, but just do not lie.
Yeah,
and I think that's the most important message.
Yeah, I say that to my kids when they hit high school. It's like, look, stuff's going to happen. You're going to get in trouble and odds are you're going to do something wrong.
Yeah.
But if you come to me and I have to ring the principal, it's a better scenario than you being pulled into that principal's office and then I'm called in.
Yes.
You should be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly.
We can handle it.
But even with stuff out of school, like, oh no, if you get stoned. Oh no.
Mum will know.
I will know. And I always say to them, I realise that you guys are teenagers. I get it.
Yeah.
I get that now in particular.
They're going to try things.
They're going to try things, but don't let it become a habit.
Yeah.
You know, you want to try something because you're curious. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
In a sense.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, they've got to be able to communicate that with you. You've got to know what's going on.
But at a certain age.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? My 17-year-old just said to me, Mum, I was at a party, I smoked some pot, I laughed at a banana, you know, like things like that. And I said to him, that's all right, mate. Like, you know, I was 17 once.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so he's a little bit more open. But I said to him, you know, the minute that it becomes an every weekend thing or an everyday thing, I will kick your ass.
That's not acceptable.
Do you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it's having that, not living in that naive world that our kids.
So how do you balance having, because I don't have that gap, how do you balance having the 17-year-old and the 10-year-old in the house with the different types of conversations and girls and, because he's that bit younger.
Yeah, I think between the 17 and 14, there's not.
No, that's,
you know, because they've got Snapchat, they've got Instagram, they see
they're both
stuff.
in high school.
They're both in high school and now they're getting younger. You know, in year 7, just the other day at school, I was having a conversation with the kids and they were running through all these labels that they all go by, you know, like pansexual, asexual, grey plus, blah, 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 blah. It's like this whole labelling thing.
Yeah.
So they're already advanced
Oh,
by
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
So my son is 13 and he's gay. And he is very proud and very open, and it's a conversation we've had in our household for a very long time. He's gifted, so he's bright. So he's known and able to have an adult conversation with you at quite a young age. So his frustration now that he's in high school is that he gets asked questions and he's like, oh, I don't want to explain all the different some people are. He's got a friend who's non-binary. He's got a friend who's transgender, all at the school. But the reality is he feels that he has to explain all this to all the different people. And he says to me, Mum, I wish the parents would do that.
Yeah.
They're coming to me. And so our household's constantly discussing sort of topics like that. And he actually went to the school. He goes to one of the private schools here in Canberra, and he's requested to celebrate Gay Pride Month next year at the school, which would never happen. The school's recently gone co-ed, so there's girls.
Yep.
And he said it would just help the other kids just sort of be more knowledgeable about what to ask, what not to ask, and having those conversations, because I think our households are very similar. We talk about this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of households do not. I'm actually writing a chapter in my new book, What Not to Say When Someone Tells You Their Child is Gay.
Yes.
Because these parents have no idea. They live in fear that, oh, my God, my child's going to say this to me. Or they don't understand. I mean, some of the things people say is, oh, don't say that. Oh, he's too young. And it's like, no, these kids know
they're not too young.
At 10, because they're living in a different world than we grew up with, and they're knowledgeable. These kids know
I just think that it's sad that they need to have a label. Like, that's what I say to my kids. I actually do not give two shits about who you love and what you do.
Love is love in our house.
I just need you to be a decent person. Don't put a label on it. As long as you're happy. And I said that to the Year 7 girls the other day. I was like, why do you girls feel like you need to label it?
I think,
just don't label it.
Yeah, just
be happy. Be you.
Well, Oliver gets frustrated too, because they had a conversation. They pulled all the boys in for his year level. He's in Year 7, and they had a conversation about relationships, boys and girl, heterosexual relationships, and the boys saying things to the girls and whatever. And Oliver said, we're sitting there, there's a group of them thinking, well, this doesn't relate to us.
Yeah.
So we're a separate group. So it's just because the conversation isn't normal, like what it should be normal, that they label themselves because they need to put their hand up and identify as different because they're not being treated the way they should be treated.
Oh,
and Oliver just said, I should not have been in that room.
Yeah.
Because it was insulting to put me in that room because I'm not, a chauvinistic male that's being rude to the girls in the school. He's like, all my friends are those girls. He goes, I should have been in a different meeting or in the meeting with the girls.
Yeah.
And the school didn't identify that.
It's kind of sad society that we have to label everything.
Well, the labels are there, I think, because they need to be there at this point. Yeah,
but it's sad that we have to.
Yeah.
I'm sad that not a lot of people think like me or you, or that I just don't think that they should have a label. I think you should just be you, and that's it.
And it's kind of scary because kids come to Ollie at school and say, I'm gay, I don't know how to tell my parents.
Yeah.
And he has to wear that burden. And he feels sorry for them because he's like, oh, I live in a household where it doesn't matter what you are. You're loved and everything's completely normal. And I always say to him, that's not your journey. That's not your story to tell for that person. You just need to be a support, and you can tell them how it was like for you, but it's a different world, kids.
Yeah, I think too, like working in a high school, you realise that mental health is so big.
Yeah.
Do
you think it's bigger now than it used to be when we were at school?
Absolutely.
Is that social media?
It's social media. I've worked it out. They are living an adult life
at a very young age.
Yeah, with not having much maturity to go along with it.
Well, that frontal cortex, their brain's not grown yet. It doesn't grow till they're in their 20s.
So they're dealing with all these kind of adult issues and adult problems and, social media and body image and, apparently we all have to go to the gym and look like we've got six-pack abs and a big booty and, girls posting photos of themselves in their underwear and guys loving like that. I think we never had that.
No, we didn't. We never wore makeup to school. We just pulled our hair back and we drank beer and we didn't. There was no, it wasn't, it's nothing scary. There was no real drugs around. It was just a different
I think
sort of
drugs
time.
have always been around, but I think now, you just have to get on Snapchat and, and there's drug dealers on there that come to your house.
Isn't that crazy?
Drugs cost you $20 to get high.
Yeah, that's right. It's cheaper than it used to ever be. We could only afford to drink beer and that was it. That was...
Yeah, but you know what I find funny? The kids come to school and they're like, they drink the top shelf stuff. And I'm like, mate, I used to have to make rocket fuel.
I remember being at a bar here in Canberra, Kokomo's, and I was watching these young girls drink $30 cocktails. I'm thinking there was no way that I've been, my first job that I could afford $20 cocktails. Are these girls kidding? Well, who's paying for this stuff? It's all on Insta. It's all on social media and it's just keeping up with that lifestyle. Good luck buying a house.
I don't think that they're going to buy a house. Did you know that you knew that your son was gay?
Yeah, so I get asked this a lot. I think that people say, well, how do you know? And I said, how do you not know?
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where it's just, you do know, and he told me, actually he told his little sister first, bless his heart.
Oh, cute.
And she's like, okay, she doesn't know what that is. And she's a little bit like me, mad as a cut snake, and went, yeah, okay, I don't care what you are.
Yeah.
And then he told me, and I said, okay, buddy, like mum and daddy already know, like you know, but you don't know.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay. And then I went and told my husband, and my husband's like, yeah, okay. Like it makes no difference.
Yeah.
And I think that he's not feminine. So what shocks people is they expect you to be a certain stereotype, which is feminine, and he has friends like that who haven't come out, who clearly are, have female characteristics, whereas he's not. He's extremely manly and rides horses and, you know, fixes things, and he's who he is, and he's just beautiful. And I've always known, but I can see why parents put their heads in the sand and pretend it's not happening.
Do you think it's an embarrassment thing?
I think they don't know how to handle it. I think they're worried about what other people are going to say.
Yeah.
And I think they hope it's going to go away.
Yeah.
So at 13, when they're sort of like, or maybe not, they're like, oh, they'll grow out of it or they'll find themselves. The reality is I knew I liked boys at 13, and most people know where they're sort of sitting with that. And so, yes, I've always known.
Yeah. And I think now young kids are more open to experimenting too.
Definitely.
So, you know, it's
quite normal to be fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't around when we were growing up at all.
No, like I had one of the girls at school come up to me the other day, and she's like, I kissed a girl. And I was like, oh, did you? How was it? Oh, it was good. They kiss better than boys. Oh. Have you ever kissed a girl? And I was like, no. And they're like, what? They were shocked.
Different generation.
I was like, it's just nothing that's really I've never really wanted to do it, but that's okay.
Even when we were dating, it was one person. Like you had a boyfriend and that was it. Whereas these kids sort of will date sort of probably what the Americans date. You know, they go date several people before they
No, they don't date. They tune.
Oh,
it's
right.
called tuning.
So that's how old I am.
Yeah, it's tuning.
They tune.
They tune before that.
Oh, my
You know,
God.
and that kind of just means that you're doing it but don't have a label on it.
Well,
it's funny. They have labels for other things. Labels that they should have, they don't have it for.
Yeah, it's different. So trying to parent the next generation, I always say in my head, my parents did a better job than their parents.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do a better job than my parents did.
Yeah.
But it's hard to parent the next generation because you're not in it. Like you're trying to, it's a lot of
I think we need to change the way we parent.
Yeah, how?
I think parents need to get their head out of their asses and think that their children aren't doing it for starters.
Yeah, and the kids aren't perfect.
And
Everyone
the
thinks
kids
the kids
aren't
are perfect.
I think that we need to get educated.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to find out what's going on Snapchat, what all these little icons mean that they're snapping.
Absolutely.
You know.
I've got parents who won't go on Facebook because they don't want to be on social media. They don't believe it. I'm like, if your kids are on social media, you need to be on social media. You need to be their friend. Like you have to be their contact, like their friend.
But I don't even think it's that, because what the kids do is they have a separate account.
No. Trust me, I found the fake.
They have a fake account.
Yes.
I think it's educating them.
Yep.
You know, that might be a fake profile and you might be posting other stuff on that profile that you should not be posting. It doesn't matter whether I see it.
Yeah.
It's the people when you go and get a job that's going to see it.
Absolutely.
And don't think that just because you're snapping something, it disappears. It doesn't fucking disappear.
I know. I teach this to kids all the time. You think you've deleted it, and I've proved it a couple of times to a couple of teenagers, like you posted that, you thought it was gone. Yeah. I have copies on my phone.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it just doesn't disappear. And that snap that they do, it's there.
Absolutely.
Forever.
And the other person at the other end of the phone can take a quick screenshot of it and they've got it.
Oh, but it's not even that.
Oh, no.
It's like on Facebook, you know, when they come up with things that have been snapped before. Whose snaps are they? They may not be yours, but they're somebody else's snaps. Where have they gone to?
It does not disappear.
It's getting that education, right? Like people always say to me, your boys are so well-mannered and they're so respectful and they're really good at having conversation. And it's because my husband and I have been a stickler for respect, manners and compassion. And if your kids have got those three things, they're going to do great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything in between doesn't matter.
So do you guys do family dinners where you sit down and no phones,
We
no TV?
eat dinner every night around the table. Sometimes it's hard because obviously sport and stuff, but majority of the time we sit around the table, turn off the TV, no mobile phones.
And you sit there. So I read an article and I spoke to a therapist about this once, about what's the best thing you can do with raising your children, and it's that.
Yeah.
So we still do it religiously the nights that we can.
Yeah.
And you always think, oh, no one's got anything to say, and we can sit there for an hour after dinner and we're still discussing things I never thought would come out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it gives them time to debrief and things as well.
And one will be quiet. You'll notice one will be sort of more quiet than the other one. And sometimes one will leave and that other one stays, and you know they've got something they want to say or just want to be with you and talk to you. And we have a round table at home. I purposely bought the round table.
Yeah.
So everybody's equal. So it wasn't sort of ahead of the table because only the four of us.
Yeah.
And I didn't want my daughter to be, you know, the men at the head of the table. I never wanted her to see that.
Yeah.
And it's just nice. And I know that we've solved a lot of problems before they happened because we've had those dinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I think it's like because the kids come to me first before they go to dad. Well, because my husband is a bit old school, as in, you know, he kind of says, why would you do that?
Yep.
You know, he kind of passes that judgment where I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fucked. Let's work it out. You know, so I'm a little bit, so they come to me and they're like, should I tell dad? And I was like, yes, you should tell dad.
Have to because I'm going to tell him anyway.
You know, just wait for the right moment.
Yeah, that's right. Pick and choose the right time.
I'll teach you all of that as you go along.
Well, my son's worked out too. He texts me during the day because he can. And if he's got a grade he wasn't happy about or something's happened, so it's sort of like he breaks that ice before he sees me after school. Not that he gets in trouble for grades, but they've got their little ways of knowing when to catch you and tell you what's happening.
And also understanding your children. Not every child is the same, so you have to parent differently for each child.
So I've only got the two to deal with. You have three. They're all obviously very different.
Yeah, they're all very different, but it's learning how to work out that they're not all the same, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So my eldest, he went through school quite happy, great group of friends. He's now in year 12. He's already got his year 12 certificate. You know, you got my middle child who absolutely hates school.
Yeah.
Hates it. Absolutely hates it. Learns absolutely nothing. Is a smart ass in mainstream school.
Oh, I can.
You know, he just hates it. So I moved him into the LSU because he learnt nothing.
Yeah.
And he needed those small classes. He's not stupid.
No, I was.
Believe
I never
you
fit
me,
that mold.
kid is not stupid. But mainstream school is not for him.
Doesn't suit everyone.
It doesn't suit him. And because he doesn't fit the criteria.
That you would need to be put into that class.
Yeah, to be put into a special program.
Yep.
He doesn't fit the criteria that he has a mental illness, that he's been bullied, that he's got Asperger's, that he doesn't fit that. He just hasn't learnt anything because he doesn't learn
the way that everyone else
learns.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's
that way.
Understanding that your children are not the same and it's not a big deal. And I said to him, I actually don't care that you don't like school. I hated school. Our teacher once told me that I'd never amount to anything.
Isn't that crazy? So my year 11 teacher told me I should never write anything again. Yeah. And my first book's coming out and I'm halfway through my second book. Yeah. It's sort of like, what opinion do they have the right to do that to kids? Yeah. So just because you weren't the kid at the front of the class, and I was naughty because I just wasn't getting what I needed. And I wasn't naughty in the sense I was in the principal's office and things like that. I was disruptive because you weren't able to stimulate that part of my brain. So I can completely resonate.
Yeah. And I think too, it's just, just being okay. Just being okay with your kids being okay. It's not, they'll work it out. And at different times.
That's right. Everyone's faster than the other one.
Yeah. So my son came to me halfway through year 12 or 11 and said to me, Mum, I don't want to go to uni. That's fine, mate.
He might want to at 30. It doesn't matter.
You're going to graduate. You're not even going to be 18, mate. I don't expect you to go into uni, get this huge HECS debt, and then maybe decide that that's not what you want to do. So I said, go and travel. Go and do what you want to do. If you want to come back and do that other stuff, that's okay. You can go in as a mature age student.
Yeah, it's so much easier these days.
Don't bust your chops trying to get this ATAR that is totally unattainable for some kids that, takes a lot of study to get to that ATAR, to the units that they need to get into. Yeah. So go and enjoy school. That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. And I find it hard to think the kids finish year 12 and go straight to uni. Like that is, year 12 is too intense sometimes.
But I think if you're an academic, you're an academic. Yeah. You don't need me to tell you.
No, exactly. My son's an academic.
You're going to
study. And my daughter's not, and I can see the difference. She works hard for her grade. Yeah. And my son, it just comes completely and utterly naturally. And she works her little tail off to get keep her grades up. And I sympathise with her because that's me. I used to have to work hard just to stay in that mainstream, but she gets marks like off the chart for art and PE and
she's
and
more
music.
of
She
a
plays
creative.
the drums and whereas he doesn't get those grades, so it's just who you are.
Yeah. And my youngest is totally smart. He's, he's like loves school. He's really good at maths.
Yeah.
He's happy, go lucky. He's got a good group of friends.
Yeah, and I know, and it's as simple as they like different food. They don't like different types of people. They study different, and they need to be parented differently.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think too, understanding that it's okay.
So are you ready for the next phase of partners, like your boys getting married?
Yeah, I want a baby straight away. I was like, people always say to me, like I just had to have the sex talk with my 17-year-old and he goes to me, I know you don't want a baby. And I was like, don't worry about the baby. A baby's a blessing.
Yes.
It's all the other stuff that you
scary.
need to be worried about.
Yeah, it's life-threatening stuff. They need to keep themselves safe.
Well, I just don't think they understand. Like I said to him, if you get herpes, you have to tell people that you
the
have
rest of your life.
Imagine being on a date going, I really like you, but I have herpes. She's going to fucking run, mate.
Yeah,
so it's the other stuff that people need to worry about.
I think because I went to an all-girls Catholic school, we weren't educated on sexual health at all. It was just do not have sex. It's as simple as that. So we had no education about, at least kids these days have got something, but I still don't think it's far enough.
Well, I think for us.
Yeah. Did you get it?
Do you remember the AIDS ad? The one with the big forky thing? Do you remember that thing?
The Grim Reaper.
Yes.
And then they had all the people with the couple in bed, and then you could see the other 500
mate,
people.
That scarred me for life.
Did that get you?
Oh, yes. He creeped me out, mate. It's
the Grim Reaper was,
every time I thought about it,
ad.
I saw the thing coming for me and I was like, oh, no, we're not doing that. AIDS was so
prevalent when we were younger, like in the 80s. It was just, it was
I think they need scare tactics like that. Yeah. Rather than
because pregnancy is not scary anymore either, because you can have so many people get married, have the baby and don't get married.
But I think too, there's the morning after pill.
Yeah.
So pregnancy is not.
It's not as scary as it was.
It's not as scary as it is. It's just put a condom on it because everyone is having sex with everyone.
Yeah.
Before it was quite taboo that you would go and have sex with a woman and a male, whereas now that's just
that's right.
what they do, and it's a lot. Like I remember having a conversation with a girl that I worked with who was 19, and she said to me, how many sexual partners have you had in your lifetime? And I was like, maybe like 6 or 7. And she's like, what? And I was like, why? How many?
Oh, my God, how many?
How many have you been up to? She said 69.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like,
and how old?
Far out. She was 19.
Oh, my gosh. That is completely different.
What? I was really shocked by it. They used to call me Nana because every time they'd tell me stories, I was like, what? You did what? What?
We had a different life. I met my husband in high school, so it was sort of like we've just been on a different path. It's just, and we had babies young, and it's just been,
I know. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend today who came over for breakfast, and she said to me, she's just had a breakup. And she goes to me, I just don't know who's going to want a 40-year-old. And I said, I think there's lots of people that have split up that's 40. And she's like, what'd you do? I was like, I've been with my partner for 21 years.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't eat for 2 weeks and get a boob job and probably get a spray tan and have to be really drunk to even go on a date with somebody else. But I
always joke that if we get divorced, he has to live next door to me because I don't know how to do life without him. And then I said, he goes, would you get remarried? I went, I am not washing someone else's undies.
Yeah, no.
Like I am done. Like if this is,
I would never get remarried.
Never get remarried. No, that's it. I live my life.
Yeah,
and
it's
just
interesting,
be
isn't
single,
it?
and I just couldn't live without him. Yeah. As simple as that.
And so what would you say to someone being a mum now that's raising kids?
So I would say get to know them as people, not just your children.
Yeah.
Like know what type of music they're into, know what makes them laugh. I've got a lot of friends who stay at that parenting level and they don't come down to that friendship level. You need both.
Yes.
And I think that you need to be able to muck around with them and you need to be able to do fun things with them individually and together. But the biggest thing with parenting that I get, because it didn't happen so much in my family, is I want my kids to be friends.
Yes.
Because once our family unit grows up, I want them to call each other because they want to talk to each other and help each other move house and be there for each other.
I'm big on that too.
Yeah, so I try and develop their friendship as well, and because we're not always going to be there, and that makes me the happiest.
Yeah. I think when my kids were little, and because I was lucky enough to be at home and not work with the kids, I would pull each of them out individually once a term or once a
I
semester,
do the same
and I
thing.
would go and do a day with them. So we'd have a me and him day, and
we call it a mental health day.
We'd call it a me and you day. And so we'd go and have lunch.
Yeah.
And it was funny because some kids would want to. It was so funny what the kids wanted to do. This had you tell that they're so different.
Yeah.
So my eldest is like, yeah, we'll just go have lunch, chill out.
Yeah.
He wanted me one day to just recently. He goes, can we have a me and you day? He wanted to take me rock climbing.
Oh, how cool is
Yeah,
that?
so that was good.
Yeah.
But when they were little, it was so different. So my middle child, he's got like really expensive taste. So I'd be like, what do you want to do on my me and you day? Take me to a fancy restaurant. And I was like, okay, sure. You know what I mean? Whereas my other boy just wanted to stay home.
Yeah.
So it's funny how they kind of
do want to do different things. Yeah, we recently did it. And I said, Oliver, what do you want to do? And he just go see his horse. He just wanted to train. And Ella just chilled out. She just wanted to relax at home and do different things. And
I think the other big thing for me too is allowing your kids to know that you're not perfect. I think that is so big.
Yeah, and you're human too. And you cry and you get wounded and you get tired and yeah.
So my kid still won't live down the day that I left Nicholas at school. He was 10 months old. Well, I had a big car back then. I had a 9-seater, sorry, not a 9-seater, a 7-seater. So I would take kids home. And because they all used to work, they'd all come and hang out at my house. So one day I came to school and I had everyone else's kids as well. So I was more worried about them, put them in the car.
Yeah, as you do. You always worry about
dropped my girlfriend's kid off and I look in the baby seat and I go, fuck, where's Nicholas? And Yanni goes, oh, Mum, maybe you didn't bring him. I fucking bought him. Fuck.
Where is he?
So he was I was like full Tourette's all the way back to the school.
Where was he?
He was walking around the school. The year 6 boys brought him to the front office. So I had to go to the front office and I was like, I'm really sorry. I forgot about my child.
Baby.
Yeah.
Did they ever let you live that down?
My kids? No, still to this day. I'm like, my husband pays me out because I'm really forgetful.
Yeah.
And so he's like, far out, Megsy, you're not going to remember who I am, when and the kids
older.
go, oh, she's had it for so long. She forgot Nicholas at school. They tell everyone.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah. So there's certain things that they never forget.
No, my kids have got a horrible story, not horrible, but a funny story. And they feel free to tell everyone. I'll tell you the story because they tell everybody anyway. So we were on vacay in Hawaii and I had a bikini on and it was a beautiful day around on the water and I went, I think my bikini bottoms are on inside out because I could feel the tag.
Yeah.
And I thought, stuff this. I'm going to take my bottoms off in the water, turn them back around and put them back on. So I did it and I turned around and there was a bunch of fucking snorkelers literally in eyesight of me. And I popped up from the water and I said to Ella, oh my God, everyone's going to turn around and go, what was that giant clam?
Yeah.
And still to this day, they call me Clam.
They call you Clam.
I'm like, guys, don't tell everybody that. Like, stories, they're relentless.
Well, as they got older, I got really drunk one time and I peed on the bedroom floor and they have not let it down. My nephew has a field day. Do you remember when you peed on the bedroom floor? And I was like,
oh, they do. Yeah. I know. Yeah,
they never let it down.
Anything you do that's embarrassing, and because they're teenagers now, I think it's funny, and they
But some mums would probably listen to this and go, oh my God, you're such an embarrassment. But you know what? No. I'm human.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't help it. I genuinely thought I was on the toilet. My husband was going, babe, what are you doing? And this is my response to him. I still remember it. I was like, fuck off. I was like, I can't even pee in peace in 4:00 in the morning when I come home drunk. You've got to have an opinion about it. And then I realised and I was like, oh. So the next morning I woke up and I tapped him on the shoulder. I was like, do you still love me? It's like, what the fuck was that? That's when I realised I should not be drinking shots anymore.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't do shots anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good. I don't know what it is. It must be my genetics because I don't often get knocked over.
Neither do I. I'm okay. But yeah, it was just a period where I was doing shots.
Just remind me when we have the Frankie and Michelle Christmas party.
Yeah, no, can't do shots. Yeah. Can't do shots.
Okay.
Well, I reckon I've had enough of listening to this after that story.
I think we need to cut it off there. If you want more, go to frankiemichelle.com where you'll find all of our episodes. You can subscribe to Frankie and Michelle News and there's heaps more on the website, guys.
All right. So in our next show, we'll be talking about money.
Yes, that taboo topic that no one really wants to talk about, but you're going to want to know what we have to say.
Yeah. Peace.